I look like such a mess right now. My hair has been sticking out all over the place all day. I keep wetting it down, then it just pops right back up, but god damn it, I'm a sexy beast. A balding sexy beast who seriously needs a haircut right now. I hate the fact that I'm bald, but I also need haircuts. The one good thing about being bald should be that I don't have to get haircuts, but I have too much hair, yet not enough hair. So hello everybody, this is Blake here, and welcome to my review of Guardians of the Galaxy. So, I was really eager to check this one out. It was one of my most anticipated films of 2014, and it wasn't just because it looked good, and it certainly did, it was because it looked different. When I saw that very first trailer, I wasn't sure if I was watching a normal comic book adaptation, or if it was intended to be some sort of parody of the Avengers. It looks so bizarre and strange in comparison to the other Marvel films, and really all comic book movie adaptations in general, and that appealed to me. One thing I really like about the Marvel Cinematic Universe is that it has its own identity. I don't really feel that it's jumping on any kind of bandwagon like a lot of the non-Marvel comic book films are. Even though a lot of people loved Man of Steel and The Amazing Spider-Man, and I liked Amazing Spider-Man alright, and Man of Steel I thought was just okay, but they're both trying very hard to be like The Dark Knight, in that they're intended to be more gritty, darker, and grounded in reality more. And I guess there's nothing wrong about that, but I always appreciated how the Marvel Cinematic Universe has done its best to resist that mold. It's its own thing. It has a much stronger balance of humor and spectacle. They're much more vibrant, colorful, and it's a nice mix of, the older, maybe cheesier comic book movie style that pretty much lasted all the way through the 90s, and, a more modern, I don't want to say grounded in reality, but slightly more realistic interpretation of these various characters. So even when the films themselves didn't always impress me, like I was never all that fond of Captain America or the Incredible Hulk, they have stayed with me because they're so unique compared to the rest. And when you take all these individual Marvel films that each have their own identities and put them together, I do like how I could totally buy all these different characters and storylines taking place in the same world. Now that's going to be a difficult thing with Batman vs Superman, unless they're just flat out rebooting Batman. If it's not intended to be The Dark Knight meets Man of Steel, then that's a total different issue. But I could not see those two characters existing within the same universe. But I can see that with Thor and Iron Man. So that in itself has always benefited the Marvel movie universe, and Guardians of the Galaxy stood out even more so than the majority of its predecessors, just in terms of how it was being marketed. Because as much as I loved the Avengers, I was concerned that after the Avengers, it seemed like the films had finally found a formula that they were sticking to. So, even though I thought Iron Man 3 was pretty good, Captain America 2 is probably one of the best Marvel films, and, well, Thor 2. Thor 2 is kind of the ugly duckling of the group. It pretty much ripped off everything, from Star Wars to, well, everything. But by that point, it seemed like the uniqueness was kind of wearing down, and Guardians of the Galaxy felt like it could really put that back on track. And the positive reviews only served to, heighten the hype. I was really looking forward to this, and I saw it, and I really did like it. It is, I think, one of the stronger Marvel films, and that says a lot. I'd say it's definitely below Iron Man, the first one, and The Avengers, which to me are the high points of this franchise, but it is probably above Captain America 2, which I'd say was directly beneath those other two films. So that makes it, I guess, the third best of the Marvel flicks. Although I shouldn't say best, because it does have some flaws, and I think Captain America 2 oddly had more ambitions in regards to the story, but it is my third favorite of the Marvel movies, and I shall explain why. Alright, the special effects are really good, but that's very easy to say. None of the Marvel films have really let me down in that regard yet, but there was no point where I was taken out of the movie because the special effects looked phony. They all looked very believable. There was a perfect blend of practical and CGI effects. That was one thing that really stood out to me, is they didn't just make everything CGI and digital, but at the same time, when it goes between practical and CGI effects, they're so seamless that you don't even really notice the difference. So that was really cool. So not only does everything look great, the special effects are very creative. The props, the vehicles, the costumes, the sets, they're all incredibly unique. There's not a single dull visual in this movie. I really liked the weapon designs, the various ships, the locations. You know, it's very easy, I think, to rely on standard sets when your film is taking place in space mostly, but this film never did. It never ran out of consistently awesome ideas for the visuals. You know, even at the end when like all the space police show up, they have this interesting like net strategy that it's kind of out there, but it makes sense too. So I thought the film never ran out of really cool visual ideas. So even if, you know, the characters end up boring you or the action scenes get old, you have to concede that the film at least consistently delivered in that regard. The action scenes I thought really stood out because of the camera work, which I won't say it's innovative, but it's very unconventional and playful. It shoots various scenes in many odd ways, but at the same time they enhanced the action, which was already really well choreographed and relied a lot on spectacle. While every character has their own style, you know, Batista, who's playing Drax, is like the brute, and his style is very, you know, muscle heavy, whereas Gamora, played by Zoe Saldana, is you know, much more of an assassin who uses her speed. And you know, even the main guy, Peter Quill, he has like almost an everyman kind of style. He has, you know, equipment that makes up for his lack of physical abilities, but he's also, you know, shown to be pretty smart and quick-witted, and you know, when these styles all clash, it was very interesting to behold. I will say this: I can understand if you feel that this film suffers from burnout, but if that is the case, it's very unusual in that most of the time when films suffer burnout in their pacing, it's because they spend too long with the character-oriented sequences, and it creates a difficulty in balancing the action and drama. Captain America, I thought, really suffered from this because it just took too long to set up the character of Captain America. So when it finally started getting to the action, I was already kind of out of it and bored at that point. In this case, though, I almost felt that there was too much action at times. You know, some scenes just went on a little bit too long. This isn't one of the most severe cases, though, because it probably would have been perfected if they cut out maybe just 1 or 2 minutes total. But like the scene where they're on the planet where they meet the Collector, that leads to a big action sequence. I thought, honestly, that was the only time when I really did feel any kind of burnout. And it picked up right after that, and then the finale I thought was purely exciting. So, you know, that was the only time I felt that maybe they should have trimmed it down just a little. The structure, for the most part, is very simple in that it's characters talk, and then we'll have an action scene. Talk, action scene. So you might find it to be a little repetitive. Because I enjoyed the action sequences and the special effects while also enjoying the character interactions, that didn't bother me as much. Now, when it comes to the story and character arcs, this is where the film is kind of conventional. It's not really groundbreaking in regards to its story or how it tells said story, but at the same time it throws in enough odd and unique aspects that it kept the story from becoming dull or safe, and that really ties into the humor, like how characters will react to certain situations. That did keep me off my guard. There's this one part I'll just describe as dance-off that totally threw me and the rest of the audience totally off my guard, and we were all cracking up at that. And it's those kinds of little things that I thought gave the story its flavor. Now, the individual character arcs aren't quite as well done as the majority of the Marvel character arcs, but to be fair, they're trying to develop 4 characters, whereas, you know, Thor only had to develop Thor. But it still handled it pretty well. I guess I'll talk a little bit about every individual character. Peter Quill, I thought, was a very compelling anti-hero. I was concerned based on the trailers that he would be kind of a joke, or maybe like a lightweight Tony Stark. But no, he's totally his own person. He has his own style of humor. He's clumsy, but he's also very competent, and in his own way is cool and badass, even though he is primarily the character who in a lot of ways provides the most comedic relief. Usually when something bad happens, it's going to happen to him. But I thought he was pretty cool, and I'd be really interested in seeing him and Tony Stark interact. And I thought the actor, Chris Pratt, yeah, I like him even though I don't like the majority of the movies he appears in. Like, I think he was in Delivery Man, and I really didn't care for that one, even though he was probably the best thing about it. But yeah, he has great comedic timing, and he also, I thought, did a good job at selling the drama. Batista plays Drax, and I really liked Drax in this movie. I like the fact that he easily could have been the dumb muscle, but at the same time they make him incredibly articulate for no reason, even though he almost seems like the idiot at times. To me, that was just an interesting contrast. And the whole thing where he doesn't understand metaphors, he's very literal and insensitive, you know, that provided a lot of funny moments too. And I like the fact that Batista played him straight. I don't think Batista is a great actor, but I think he could make a good supporting actor. He's not like The Rock. I don't think he could carry a movie himself, but he really did do a good job in this film. And you know, I'll be interested to see, you know, if he continues making movies. I have recently gotten back into wrestling, and it was kind of awkward seeing the fans totally turn on Batista at the Royal Rumble. But yeah, I still think he's a good performer, and I hope that he can win back the crowd. And yeah, I thought he did a good job here. Groot, of course, is for many people was the show stealer. My dad thought Vin Diesel was wasted in that role because he only really has one line, but you know, he does that one line very well. And Groot is such a cute character, but at the same time he's badass. They have many great moments with him that's both touching, funny, and even sad. So I thought they did a good job with him too. Rocket is another show stealer for many people. Very funny. I thought Bradley Cooper really did nail that voice. Well, at the same time, you know, one thing I liked about these characters too is none of them totally fit their archetype. Like Rocket, for example, is set up to be the brains of the group, but at the same time, other people come up with good plans. So and then, you know, even though Batista's character Drax, he's like the muscle, at the same time he's also the one who gets his ass kicked the most. So that was kind of an interesting twist on these, you know, characters who otherwise could have easily been very conventional. I thought Gamora, played by Zoe Saldana, was the weak link. She does fine in terms of her acting, and there's some good moments with her too, but her character arc is entirely based around her being a love interest. Now, she had a character arc prior to this movie where she realizes that her father is kind of an asshole, so decides that she's going to change her ways, but she had already decided that by the beginning of this film. So her only growth is how she warms up to the hero, and I don't really like it when love interest exists only to be a love interest, even though they don't really go as far with that. I mean, I don't recall them ever kissing in this movie, even though there's definitely romantic tension there. But, you know, she was kind of a stereotype, and they could have done a better job with that character. But above everything, their interactions are always really entertaining, really funny, and I enjoyed watching them. So even, you know, if the character arcs could have been stronger, you know, the point is they always entertained me, and that's what I want out of a movie like Guardians of the Galaxy. You know, even though it is, I think, deeper than your usual summer blockbuster, it never tries to be anything more than what it is, which is just pure fun. So, you know, I appreciated that. I felt like, once again, Captain America bit off more than it could chew in regards to its drama, so ended up being kind of a slow-paced mess, whereas The Incredible Hulk was just really, really dumb, wasn't deep at all. but at least it was kind of entertaining. Well, this film I thought struck a better balance. The sense of humor in general is very strange, but appealing. I usually laughed at almost all the jokes. It does suffer some mood whiplash at times where it's suddenly funny, then it becomes serious, really serious, then it becomes funny again. It happened a little bit near the ending, especially during the beginning. I mean, the very first scene is a kid who's trying to deal with the fact that his mother is dying of cancer. Then when she dies, he gets abducted. It's very dark, nothing funny about it. Then like the exact next scene is that same character as an adult dancing and goofing around. That was a little odd, but still, other than that, I thought it had a good balance of action and humor, but also knew when to take itself seriously, so we could take what was occurring seriously. But the reactions, interactions, the film, whenever it wanted to make me laugh, I generally laughed. So all in all, I thought this was a very entertaining movie. Is it as deep as Captain America 2? No, I do think it will suffer from some hype backlash. But, to me it was just kind of like a lightweight Avengers in space. The Avengers I really loved because it was nothing but sheer entertainment, and it provided lots of that. And even though I don't think Guardians of the Galaxy is as epic as the Avengers, it's still pretty epic. And I definitely recommend you all check it out in the theaters. I saw it in 3D. I thought the 3D was just okay, so I'd find a second opinion on that if you do want to see this, or if you are considering seeing this in 3D. To me, it was more atmospheric, and there were a few moments where the 3D did stand out, but for the most part, I'd often forget that I was watching 3D. I probably would have just paid to see a normal viewing myself. I didn't think it was worth a few extra dollars, but I have heard people praise the 3D, so I might be alone there. So that is all I have to say about that. I just released a written review of Scorpion Thunderbolt, which is directed by art house pioneer Godfrey Ho, so that should be interesting. And my next written review will probably be of Dragon Tiger Gate, is that what it's called, with Donnie Yen. I actually might be doing a Critiquing the Critics video next week. I'm going to try at least, because I should have enough time and room. Well, at least the house is going to be empty, so I shouldn't have to worry about being interrupted or being too noisy. It's just a question of, will I be able to get it done on time? Follow me on Twitter if you want to know how that goes. And also follow me on Facebook. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's probably gone on way too long. Yes, it has. And I'll see you guys later.